Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to episode 49 of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. I am Christian Brindle. I'm joined with my co-host, Glen Shelton. Again, another morning, another day. Glen,
Hello.
good morning. Good morning, good sir.
Hey, have you gotten much snow? I don't feel like I've heard much about snow for you yet.
Yeah, I was funny story about that. I was at the gym this morning in the locker room talking with a naked guy about just that very thing.
I can't do this podcast anymore. I can't do this. I can't do this.
I need a new coach.
Mehmet, it's your turn, buddy. You're up.
So we were talking about how
a very friendly conversation. Okay, I have the mental image. Okay, continue.
So we were just talking about. So we got a pretty heavy snowstorm. I want to say last week. It was the first time I had to use my new snowblower that I bought.
Oh,
that everyone was going to tell me I was going to need for this heavy winter we were going to get. So it snowed a lot for one day and then didn't snow again. And slowly but surely it's been warming up. I feel like, and that's really the only big snowstorm we've gotten that I can think of this winter. It's 56 degrees today.
That's insane, bro. It snowed. And the reason I asked is it snowed for us last night. It was like an inch. It's a dusting. We'll get snow maybe once or twice a year. So this is about on par.
Mm-hmm.
But, I remember there's been years where it's like, our employees can't get to the office because there's so much snow. And I don't feel like I've heard much. And it's like, it's blowing my mind, though, that it's 20 degrees warmer in Utah than Oregon today. That doesn't track for me. But
I don't understand it. Like, and like we have one of our employees that lives in Savannah, Georgia. She got a snowstorm recently this month or in January. Doesn't usually happen. Florida is getting snow.
Yeah,
in places it doesn't happen. And we're really not that much, like at all.
Weird.
Looking at it for this week, today forecast is a high of 65, but tomorrow's
that 54. Is crazy, bro. 65? That's insane. That's like my summer weather, bro. I'd be in shorts and a t-shirt in 65.
I didn't feel like I needed a coat today. It was so weird. I'm like, what is
balmy.
Going on?
Just balmy for you.
And the scary part here in Utah is if we don't get enough snow, we might have a really rough drought-like summer. So we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But anyway, we got a banger of a show for you guys today. Two fantastic topics. We're going to be talking a little bit about AI to start the show, but following that, we're going to be talking about a bit of a spicy topic, and that's the future of Medicare Supplement. Okay. Very dividing topic, right? Like it parts the seas, if you will, this topic. And there's a lot to talk about with that, but let's first start off with AI. I feel like the first time we ever talked about this was on a Taco Tuesday. Shout out to Taco Tuesday. A lot of you guys probably remember Taco Tuesday if you're, been followers of ours for some time, followers of mine, followers of Glenn. But I feel like it was a couple years ago now. I think it was pre-merger that we first talked about AI. And it's kind of fascinating. I was thinking about this the other day. It's kind of fascinating to see really how quickly it's almost like in like an 18-month time span, it's ingratiated into our culture. Everyone knows about AI. And all kinds of businesses have some kind of AI tool of some kind or resource they're using in their business. Like, Glenn, are we being taken over by robots? Like, is that what's happening before our eyes?
It's true. Skynet is real. The Terminator was a documentary from the future, not a piece of fiction. it is scary. It's both scary and not scary in the sense that there is a lot of hyper exaggeration around AI. Again, using the Terminator or Skynet as an example, there's people who talk. So the big word that I always see discussed is I think it's AGI,
Mhm.
general intelligence, and that's essentially my understanding of this is the bar they've set where if AI crosses this bar, it's essentially self-intellectual. It is essentially its
It's
own entity.
sentient.
Yeah, it's essentially sentient. Yes, which is wild to even be having this conversation. But um, and there was this really weird piece of news that came. I don't know if you remember this. This was like a year or two ago. There was a Google developer who was working on their AI who came forward. He leaked a couple of screenshots and he said it's sentient. He's like, it's alive. And I think he ends up getting fired from Google
Mhm.
for coming out and saying these things. I went down the rabbit hole with that story specifically a little bit because it just stood out so weird. It's always one of those things where it's like either the dude's just a wacko saying stuff, crazy guy, which again, it's Google. They don't, they might have some crazy people on there on payroll, but typically you're thinking, these are some of the smartest people in America working at Google.
Mhm.
Or is this the canary in the coal mine? Is this the canary? And that was my scary moment about AI. Is I'm like, is this the canary in the coal mine? Is this the guy who's trying to warn us of what's coming? That it's already there. So, do you remember that story at all?
I certainly do. Yeah, I remember when it first came out. I remember just doing a little deep dive of my own. I don't think I probably deep dived as much as you did, but I remember watching a couple of videos about it. Just kind of it sparked my curiosity for sure.
Yeah. What was your
And
takeaway? What was your takeaway?
I mean, it's so hard to know, right, from the outside looking in, right? Because it's more of like a he said, she said kind of thing, right? Because you're not able to see anything. But I believed him. I thought he was very convincing. His story was very convincing. The details he provided were
Yeah.
very convincing.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, like if I'm Google and I'm this giant monster $1 trillion corporation, you have a lot to lose, and naturally, if it was true, they probably wouldn't tell you anyway. They probably would try to cover it up, right? Like that's
Right.
that behavior tracks to me.
Yep.
And so, but yeah, it's hard to know for sure, but that's I walked away like if I had to put money on it about what really happened, and I had to like, do a little bit of Russian roulette, if you will, like just guessing. Um, I would probably put my eggs in the basket of it that it happened.
I so yeah, I did a fair amount of it. And again, it's one of those things where like there's only so much public information on stuff like this. So like you're only gonna get so far. I think this individual's credibility was questionable. It's always tough though, because
Mhm.
you never know if again, if you're Google from their point of view, one of your first moves, if something like this were to leak and you didn't want it to leak, you're probably going to discredit the individual immediately,
Yeah.
right? So it's hard to know, again, based on what got out there about this engineer, is this legit or not? Um,
It's like a politician of sorts, right? Like
for
someone
sure.
like okay, I might say this and I might upset some people, but just understand where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Look at Trump, right? Like Trump before politics, beloved, kind of universally recognized in culture as like a successful business guy, mentioned in rap songs, like all these things, right? Then he runs for office and he's Hitler,
Right.
right? Like the lengths that people can go
To
to
discredit
assassinate
someone.
your character and discredit
For
you
sure.
are mass in a mass
Yeah.
volume. And I think a company like Google who has unlimited resources, who knows what they can do
Right.
or plant
For
to make
sure.
you look like a crazy wackadoo
Yeah.
conspiracy theorist.
And there's so much evidence of giant corporations across the world who have done this with people. So hard to see the forest for the trees. These AI technologies that we're all utilizing or working with, they're LLMs, it's large language learning models. So essentially they're just feeding in all this data, this information, and it's kind of trying to synthesize it and spit it back out. My personal takeaway from what this whole story was is that, and you see this with a lot of AI technology and ChatGPT, is they call it hallucinating. It's when the AI, the chat just kind of gets off the rails and starts saying wild stuff that's not true. The data's not there to support it. I've seen stories and screenshots of AI models who are just fabricating websites. Like, how crazy is that? Is to, like, you're asking AI for information, and it is fabricating a source that doesn't even exist and giving you an answer. Like, so it's tough because I don't think AI is anywhere near where a lot of people probably think it is. I don't think it's sentient yet. I don't think there's AGI yet. I don't think we've reached there yet. That being said, though, it appears that this is on the roadmap that we're on. It does seem like at some point in the future, and we could speculate. We're known to speculate on this show.
It'll never go away, will
We're
it?
known to speculate on this show. I've heard all sorts of years thrown out. I've heard it's 2 years away. It's 8 years away. It's 4 years away. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows how far that's out? But obviously, that's the point in time where you are talking about like a Skynet, Terminator, weird stuff that could happen, right?
Yeah, I think most interesting thing to me is how it's being utilized to help business right now, even in simple ways, right? Like,
Yeah.
How many people on our staff use ChatGPT for little tasks and things like that?
All the time. Yeah,
Constantly.
all the
It's
time.
almost
Every day.
it's almost become as synonymous as and highly used in a work sense as Google.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Google,
Like
Google tools. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, spreadsheets. It's like ChatGPT, AI. Yeah, it for sure.
chatbots, right? On websites, on social media chats, things like that. AI callers.
Yes.
Right? Which most of them that we've heard are bad, but there's a couple that we've heard that are shockingly
Some that are good. Some are good. There's also, I think, some individuals that cherry pick recordings, right? Obviously, if you do 1,000 AI calls, you can probably cherry pick some recordings out of there that are like, wow, this is a real human. This can't be AI, right? You can probably generate those calls. So let's bring this, before we shift to the main topic, I do want to keep talking about this. Let's bring this to the industry specifically. Let's talk about AI in the sense of how is this going to affect the Medicare business over the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. If we're talking long term, I think we will probably see organizations, and I think we'll see it come from large, like call center types at scale organizations before anything else. But I think we'll see organizations that develop AI callers that can literally do an enrollment. Now, here's the issue there. What are the legalities of this? Well, they don't exist today, right? Like, how does that work? You know what I mean?
There's zero legal infrastructure, right? There's nothing.
What typically happens when there's something that's so new that there's no laws on it? It's probably heavily exploited before there's laws, right? Like the exploitation of it almost is responsible for creating the laws in a sense.
Yes.
Right?
That's very accurate. Yes.
And so I think we'll probably start to see things like that, to where the AI callers will get so much better. And you might even start seeing some organizations, push the boundaries in terms of having AI callers do enrollments, but might get to the point where some people might not be able to tell if they're talking to an AI or talking to a person. And I think we're moving in a direction to where I think the people that are going to find a way to use AI, I've been saying this for a couple years now, but I think the people that are going to find a way to use AI in their business are going to just leapfrog everybody else in a lot of ways. I think it's just going to keep getting better. And I think that's where we're going to start. I think the carriers will be the last to adopt things like this, in my opinion.
Yeah, the legality of it is the thing that is a big question mark, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the self-driving car idea. In a sense, it's this perfect scenario, right? You're reducing fatalities on the road. You're outsourcing it to technology, removing the human element from the driver. But then it's like, well, who's responsible if there is an accident? If the car is speeding, who's responsible? Is it the manufacturers or the person? Like, AI, in my opinion, has this same huge gray area. Not to mention, around TCPA specifically, they've banned AI unless there's an explicit written opt-in that includes AI language. You're not supposed to use it at all.
Right.
So I think the roadmap of how AI gets inserted deeper into the industry, something like an AI agent, which I think is probably further out than, again, I've heard all sorts, just like AGI. I've heard this AI insurance agent, Robot Patriot Insurance.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
Shout out, yeah. Shout out to Robot Patriot Insurance. I hope
Throwback
you're real.
Taco Tuesday fans out there.
I did 10,000 apps yesterday. Keep up.
This is what a real producer looks like, bitch. Okay, I'm sorry. My wife told me I curse too much on the show, so I will tone it back. But
every time I've ever cursed on this show, my kids are always like, "I'm your dad," or they're listening to the podcast back, or I'm like, "Hey, listen to this," and they're like, "Dad, what did you say?" I'm like, "Okay, whoa, it's an adult show, guys. You have to be 18 to get your insurance license, okay?" Yeah. So, but no, again, that's the roadmap, I think, for AI coming into the industry. Is the technology is going to advance. It'll get to a point where it's being exploited by either producers, agents, agencies, maybe at the carrier level, call center level. And then it will be so exploited that there will be lawsuits, lots of lawsuits. And then we'll come out to the other side of what is the legal framework for using AI.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be the big moment. What would you guess? Again, speculatively, what would you guess the timeline for something big like that is? Gun to your head. Russian roulette.
The first number that comes to mind is like, I think we'll see it play out over a 10-year period. And I think in a 10-year period, we'll get to that point of regulators are forced to figure this out. I think we will get to that point. A lot of similarities to me point to, and this is probably a topic for another day, the no-call ACA enrollment situation. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's actually that ran through my head too, to be honest.
And so, like, you have that went on for years, right? And it's essentially been destroyed now. I mean, maybe there's someone still figuring out a loophole or way around it now, but like, I don't see how you do it compliantly, right? Like, the new rules have essentially put an end to it. People that were doing it have had their insurance license pulled and, suspended for 5 years. Like, they're just ostracized from the industry. A lot of people. It seems like I hear about
a lot of people,
a lot of guys have had their insurance license pulled. Not good. Not good.
That needs the ACA, the no call lead. That needs to be its own entire episode for sure.
It does.
No call leads. Christian has an unpublished documentary that I don't know if you ever finished it. Maybe you just start. I'll never forget. I was at the pool. I remember this. I was at the pool. I think this was years ago. I think it was
it never saw the light of day, right?
I'm at the pool. I check my phone. I get a text from Christian, and he's like, "Hey, check this out." And it is like this murder mystery documentary on someone who got busted in the ACA space, and I was like,
before they got busted. It was before they got busted.
It was before they got. But because of what was going on, which ultimately led to that person getting, I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Are you gonna do it?" And you're like, "No, I'm not gonna do it."
I was in the office making videos, you know what I mean, on a Saturday morning, and I was just screwing around, and I was thinking about putting it out because I thought it would just do incredible, but I'm like, do I want the grief of this? Not really. That's what I came to the conclusion on. But it's so ironic that, you know, probably a few years later, that person did get busted.
Yeah.
In a real way.
It almost has to get now I almost feel like it has to get revisited. Maybe you go back and you're like, this was filmed originally in 2022 before their license got suspended. That's another topic, though. Another day.
It is. That could be an entire show in and of itself. Let's quickly talk about this episode's sponsor, Glenn. Take it away. Who's the sponsor of this episode today?
Guys, today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by, sponsored by, pick your favorite word there, Hire Heroes. You can get a vetted virtual assistant who can come in and help you grow your business without worrying about putting out job ads, doing all the interviews. How am I going to pay this person? What are the tax implications? Hire Heroes has figured all of that out for you. I also wanted to quickly mention something I did yesterday working with a virtual assistant on our team. I had a very repetitive task. I had to do something about 50 times. Each time I was doing it was taking me about 10 to 15 minutes. I got through about 10 of the 50 times of doing it. I said, I can't do this anymore. So then I did a quick video filming myself doing that task and then handed it off to one of our virtual assistants. And I sat there this morning thinking about how much time I saved, and it was incredible to really do the math on this. If my time's worth, let's just throw a number out there. Let's say my time's worth $500 per hour. And I just saved myself, let's say, 5 hours of work. That is a $2,500 savings in my time working with a virtual assistant who was able to accomplish the task just as good as I was able to do it. And it took me all of 5 minutes to delegate this task. If you want to figure out how you can get your time back working with vetted virtual assistants, contact Hire Heroes today. Don't wait another minute. HireHeroes.com. HireHeroes.com.
Before we pivot into the main topic, can I just add something to the virtual assistant conversation? I know that's not what this episode is about, but guys, while we're talking right now, while we're filming this episode, one of the virtual assistants that works internally in the agency and has for over a year now, is currently training a new virtual assistant, literally right now, that's come on our team, that's working in the agency, that's working very closely with me. Like, that's happening right now. You know what I mean? Like, and I have nothing to do with it. Glenn has nothing to do with it.
Yes. Yes.
It's the magic of, you know, one, and this is probably an episode of its own as well, but once you get one in there, you do, you know, you train them, you know, they really learn your system, the way you like things done, your business, everything like that. The duplication of it all is just, it's remarkable to see.
I was also going to mention too, you know, we talked about AI at the start of this episode. A lot of people think that AI is replacing virtual assistants, or like you're going to pick between AI and virtual assistants. So far, the way this has played out, AI has made working with a virtual assistant that much stronger. Mm-hmm. You're taking a soldier and you're instead of giving them an M911, instead of giving them a pistol, you're giving them an AR-16, a semi-automatic gun. They now have better tools, better technology to help you grow your business. So I highly recommend having a virtual assistant in your agency, helping your business grow.
Yep. All right, let's shift gears into the main topic at hand. Man, I don't even know where to start with this one, but the future of Medicare supplement plans. Okay.
I think we got to start in the past.
I agree. Start us
go
off.
To the future. We must go back in time.
To know where we're going, we must first know where we have been.
Take a quick trip back to 1947.
I wrote a book. I think you can still find it. It did not sell well because it was so boring. But if you want to look inside of my my insurance.
Christian's fun at a party, you guys. Yeah, Christian's really fun at a party. Let me tell you.
But I wrote a book specifically about Med Supp, and it was all about Med Supp. It talked about the history of Med Supp, like what year it started, like when it became Medigap that we know today, like what it was like before then, like Medigap being the standardized Med Supps we know today. Yeah. So like Med Supp originally started, and there was only a couple of insurance companies. Mutual of Omaha, shout out to them, was one from the very beginning.
Yeah, baby.
United American was one. But Med Supp starts with Medicare starts in 1965, I believe.
Yeah.
You have these kind of like versions of Med Supp plans. You get to 1992, year of Christian's birth.
Medicare Jesus has been born.
Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. So the Medigap program and me share a birth year. We were born at the same time. It's like the stars aligned.
Oh my God. It's like Barkley's birthday being on the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. Buckle up, hang on, guys. Let me get my seatbelt on for this next few minutes here. Okay.
So, 1992, they roll out standardized Med Supp plans for the very first time. That brings out Plan F, was the most popular of them. Plan K, Plan L, plans like that. Plan G and N did not come into effect until 2010. They were added to it. But basically from 92 till now, we had, for the most part, the same kind of structure with Medicare supplement plans for the most part, with some changes here and there, new plans added like G and N. But, so you have that, and you have this standardized Medicare supplement model where all carriers offer the same plans with some exceptions, shout out Wisconsin and Minnesota, way to be weird. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a little peek behind the curtain of like really the 10,000 foot view of Med Supp history. Like that's kind of where the plans came from. So I say that to say the Med Supp product is an extremely old one. Extremely. The model of it is an extremely old product line.
Most people don't know this, but Lyndon B. Johnson is actually Christian's great-grandfather. So, you heard it first here on the Seven Figures or Bust podcast. Medicare, the person who helped create Medicare, there's a bloodline between the Brindle name and Johnson. Guys, that's not true at all. Don't post.
I heard my supposed great grandfather is going to be declassified in some documents coming up here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that was actually a really good backstory though on Medicare Supplement specifically, the plan letter names. I want to tell you kind of my entry point into the industry. Coming in around 2012, Medicare Advantage at that time, because what was it? And the number in my head is around 2006. Medicare Advantage started. When did Medicare Advantage start? Am I
Yes, I believe the legislation was passed in 2005, and I think it took the market in 2006. And Part D.
So smart. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I wow myself. But so I come in at this point in time, Medicare Advantage is still so new that it is being publicly just nobody wants to talk about it, sell it. Yeah, ostracized. I was going to use a curse word, and then I remembered we talked about not cursing on the pod. So I like ostracized.
No, that's just me. Yeah. That's just me.
Publicly ostracized. And from the agent's point of view, as a brand new agent, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I'm reading online forums, talking to other agents that I know, and nobody wants to sell this. They there's extra rules about it. At the time, the comp wasn't nearly what it was today. So, the comp wasn't great. There's extra rules. The coverage, the other thing is the networks were so new that they might have like a temporary network that was good, but then the network goes away or it gets out of the county. Like all of a sudden that plan's gone the next year. So now you're scrambling to move all of your clients. I mean, when I really think about the Medicare Advantage that I knew back in the day versus what it is today, it doesn't even compare in my opinion. It's kind of crazy to sit here and talk about this because
it's true.
It's so different on every level. It's so different. So when I came in to the industry on the Medicare side of the business, essentially the way agents were pitching Med Supp, it was like, well, you have two options. There's this horrible option called Medicare Advantage. Or literally, there are some people that do this. There's still some people. But this went on for years, and there's a few of you diehards out there. You know who you are. If you're listening, you know who you are. But that was essentially their whole thing. It was like, okay, Mrs. Jones, you got two options. You got this horrible option, Medicare Advantage. Don't do it. Don't do it. Or we'll get you on a Plan F. Covers everything. $250 a month. It's amazing.
It's an asset.
It's an asset. That was my entry point back in about 2012.
I'm in tears because I know it's so true. It is.
It's so true.
So I had such a different starting point, right? So
yeah,
I come into the business, as many of you probably know, I come in 2014. I'm 21, and I came in as a downline agent of my dad. My dad was 25-year agent at that point, veteran, was not really growing his business, but had built a nice little agency, right?
Was your dad one of those agents? Was he?
No, he was the opposite. He was
selling Medicare Advantage.
He was bullish.
He was a pioneer.
Medicare Advantage. Yeah.
He was a pioneer.
So
trekking to Utah.
So I come in, and at that point, of course, I'm only selling in Utah, right? Medicare Advantage, like you said, even at that point, right? We're talking, you're talking 2006 what the plans looked like, and but 2014, even still, they looked like a version of what you have today, but still very different. Like in our market, it was basically unheard of for a plan to have any dental built into it. And I remember there was one plan that the first year I came in put preventative dental into their plan, cleanings, x-rays, exams, no comprehensive. There were plans that had riders, but they were highly expensive. Nobody bought them. And having that preventative dental was looked at as like revolutionary. You know what I mean? You look at it today, it's extremely common for plans to have a lot of comprehensive benefits on dental and everything like that. There were way less plans. It was more common, especially in our market. I don't think this was everywhere, but especially in our market, you had plans that were $30 to $50 a month in premium, and they were looked at as superior plans than the zero plans. And they were better plans. So people were like, it's worth paying the premium for it.
Right.
But anyway, my dad, basically from the get-go, I remember he taught us Medicare Advantage very heavily and taught us Med Supp, but he was more like, it's expensive. The rates go up. Doesn't pay as much. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, oh, I'm like, so I think like, you know, in my first, let's say 6 months of selling, I probably sold 90% Medicare Advantage because that's what I was trained on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
you were the exception.
Yes.
For sure.
It was only when I kind of went off on my own and educated myself more on my own of Med Supp that I started to appreciate it more. And it started to flip more to probably in my second year on for some time, it was probably 60-40, you know, 60% in favor of Medicare Advantage, but 40% in favor of Med Supp. I was selling a lot more of it. And I never understood the stance that people take on how bullish they get on one side or the other. I've never quite got it.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, you know, and I've seen all the arguments against Medicare Advantage. Denials. You're going to be dying in the street when the hospital can't get your prior authorization. You know what I mean? Like such crazy exaggeratory things. Yeah. Today, Glenn, you've been a co-owner of the agency for over a year now. We have thousands of Medicare Advantage clients all over the country with all different carriers. And we have an extremely little percentage of unhappy or complaints from it. Like the satisfaction rate is crazy high. I've said it for years. Medicare Advantage plans blow the crap out of almost any under 65 insurance. Not all. There's some group plans that are really good, things like that. But like, would you take a Medicare Advantage plan or you're the best ACA plan? Give me the freaking Advantage plan, right?
For sure.
They're so good. And so they both have a place. But I think in the nature of this conversation, in my opinion, I've seen kind of the trend for many years now. This episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by my mini course, How to Find and Buy Books of Businesses. Guys, in 2024, Glenn and I, in our combined company, purchased and acquired through acquisition 900 clients. And over the years, we've purchased thousands of clients to grow our agency internally. And we've learned a thing or two over the years, right? There's certain things you need to look out for. You need to know how to value a book of business. You need to know how to transfer everything, what the expectations are in terms of the timeline. And you need to know how to put a deal together and structure it to protect yourself while still at the same time doing good business with people. Guys, this mini course is around 10 videos long. It's a quick and easy thing to get through. And it's a great way for you to grow your book of business in 2025. Whether you're finding an agent that is maybe been in the business for decades and they want to retire, and then maybe they don't have any kids to take over their business. Maybe you're looking at a situation with an agent that just hasn't been able to make it in the business and they're just looking to go off and try other things. Buying books of businesses can be a great way to quickly and rapidly grow your business fast. And we've unveiled all of the little tools and tricks that you need to know in this training. It's a one-time purchase for only $197. For that price, we're practically giving it away. Make sure to check it out now. Now back to the show. I think Med Supp premiums are getting more expensive.
Yep.
I think you're seeing less and less people want to pay for Med Supps. You're seeing PDPs becoming way less affordable. Not overall, right? We still have $0 WellCare PDPs and things like that, but like overall, there's less options, right? What did we see this last AEP? A condensement of plans. Carriers that had 4 or 5 PDP plans, they shrunk into having 2 or 3. Carriers like Mutual of Omaha just totally pulled out of the PDP market. So in general, the PDP option is moving in the direction of it's just, it's not looking great for the future of it. I think if you could have Med Supp where you had Part D built into it somehow, like you do with Medicare Advantage, it probably would be extremely viable. But The problem is the carriers can never afford that, right? It's already kind of a very razor slim margin as it is. But I think over the past 5 years, I don't think you can argue it. I think market share has shifted more in favor of Medicare Advantage. You could say that's propaganda. You could say that's, intense advertising and all this stuff.
It is propaganda, but continue.
I think that plays a role.
For sure.
But I also think the Advantage plans, like, again, right, you compare it to what it was, let's say, when I came in 2014. The plans are so much better. They're so much better. So it becomes harder and harder to justify. What are you going to spend for a Med Supp these days, right? Like in Utah, and some states are going to be way more than this. Utah is one of the cheaper states actually for Med Supp.
Probably $2,000 or $3,000 a year, I'd imagine, right?
Probably so when you factor in the PDP, right? Unless you can get a $0 WellCare PDP or something like that. You're not going to have any dental, right? You have to add on a separate standalone dental plan for that, things like that.
Yeah.
Or you could get, let's say, a $0 premium Medicare Advantage plan, and you have, let's say, you have a $3,000 to $5,000 max out of pocket, comes with dental, vision, hearing, covers all your providers, covers all your prescriptions, your drug coverage is built in. Like, it's a very hard thing. It's becoming, I guess, let me put it this way. There's people out there that still see the value in the Med Supp, a lot of people, but it's becoming harder and harder and harder to justify. I've had so many clients over the years come into our office. They sit down. They've done some online research.
Well, let's talk about my parents. Okay, let's talk about my parents.
This is a great example.
Yeah, my parents, they are a client of ours at ESI. Christian actually wrote their policy as a favor to me personally. They've been on Medicare for about a year. Going into this, I put a gun to Christian's head and I said, if you write my parents a Medicare Advantage policy,
this is a great example.
I will end your life. Is essentially how they go.
They come into the office, right? I am going out of my way to make Med Supp look as good as possible because
he's doing the pitch from 2012 essentially.
Yeah,
you know what?
And I'm trying to be objective at the same time, right? I'm trying to, give them a very accurate presentation, unbiased, but I'm maybe slightly just leaning towards Med Supp a little bit. I want them to do what they feel is best at the end of the day, but I'll never forget. I think it was your dad that was like, "Why would I do the other side?" He's like, "So let me get this straight." He's like throwing some numbers at him. He's like doing his math in his head, and he's like, "Why would I do the other side? It doesn't seem to mathematically make any sense for me." And I think Medicare Advantage is not perfect, and this is not just a pro Medicare Advantage and it's better than Med Supp podcast. It's not that I'm trying to go with.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Let's change the title. Change the title of the episode, you guys. The Death of Medicare Supplement by Christian Brindle.
I'm more just saying why I feel like we've moved in the direction that we have, because I don't think anyone can deny market share has shifted to Medicare Advantage. It's undeniable.
I had some previous biases coming in about Medicare Advantage versus Med Supp, which is part of it. The other part of it is the way the Medicare Advantage plans have evolved over time. When you have everything baked into it, you have all these additional benefits baked into it. You have a $0 premium. You have a lower premium than Med Supp. It becomes really, really difficult for the consumer, regardless of how you want to spin it to them. It's a difficult decision for them to choose one. Now, there's a lot of niche reasons to have a Med Supp that I don't think will ever go away. And I like one off the top of my head is just the travel, right? If you're doing a lot of travel, maybe you're a wealthy Medicare beneficiary and you live in 3 different places, or maybe you're doing even more traveling than that, whatever. So like the idea of trying to lock into one network just would not fit into your lifestyle. That is a great example, in my opinion, of where a Medicare supplement plan would definitely still fit. If, not to jump the gun here, but that is what I think the future of Medicare supplement is. The future of Medicare supplement is going to be filling these niches where there are no networks. Where I'm at, there's very, very little to no networks, right? there are still places like that in the United States.
Right.
There's reasons like the travel reason, right? Where you're not staying in one spot. So if you need care, Medigap plan is going to be a superior option for you. But outside of niche reasons, I do think Medicare Advantage is going to continue to eat the lunch of Medicare Supplement like we've seen year over year. It's been like, it's like 1%. They lost 1%. They lost 1% of market share.
Mm-hmm.
And it adds up. It's like 30, 32, 34, 38. I believe we just crossed the majority a couple years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I want to be objective, right? Like, I'm not an MA guy or a Med Supp guy. I'm a Medicare guy. So I want to do what's going to be in the best interest of the client at the end of the day. And I want to give them the tools to be able to, to make their own decision based on the pros and cons, right? Advantage plans.
Hang on a second. There's a comment here I want you to answer from someone. Joseph said, what about the fact
that's actually where I was moving
to?
Oh
my gosh, where just
because I saw the comment too, and I thought it was a great question. So I want to be objective about Advantage plans not being perfect. They have their faults. So I'll read the question on the live stream in the Facebook group. What about the fact that less and less doctors accept MAPDs? Docs in network are going the other way. So first off, I don't see that everywhere. It might be in certain places, but I'm certainly not seeing that everywhere and not with every carrier. Right? Like I saw some areas in I'm trying to remember what area it was. We have clients all over the country that we saw during AEP where the biggest hospital group fell out of network with one of the biggest carriers. I won't say the name. And it was as simple as us moving them to another carrier where they increased their doctor network, right? And even if that happens in some degree, it's the pendulum swinging back and forth, right? Like doctors, and I've talked about this a lot. This is probably its own podcast too. Did we already do this podcast? I don't even know. About denials and things like that, right? Like doctors like to blame insurance companies when they don't do their job and get the prior authorization or done, or they don't bill something correctly. Like someone goes in to get their ear looked at and it's billed as a finger surgery or something like that, right? Like, so they blame the insurance company and they're like, we're cutting our contract. But we've seen this, right? We've seen this in certain parts in history of Medicare Advantage plans where did I lose you?
You're back. You're frozen there for about 5 seconds.
Uh-oh. How am I coming through? Okay.
A little glitchy, but I can hear you. Okay, you're slowly warming back up. I want to say something really fast post Christian's glitch here. I have seen, this is right on topic here, I have seen just a small peek behind this curtain of building out these networks with doctors. I believe, based on what I've seen, again, I know just a little bit. I just know a little tiny bit about this. I think there's a pretty aggressive recruiting that's going on behind the scenes to build these doctor networks.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably similar. A lot of people are familiar with how pharmaceutical sales works. Someone's in the office, they're schmoozing the doctors, gifts, lunches, trips, right? All sorts of crazy stuff. I think similar things are going on to try to lock doctors into networks because, again, the better the network, the more people they can get these Medicare Advantage plans out to, etc. And you got the hospital network. Like it's almost like a sports team contract. Honestly, it's becoming a similar thing.
Here's where I want to go with this. Right?
Yeah.
I was talking about the pendulum swings back and forth with these kind of things. We've seen points in time where even with original Medicare, doctors were trying to take a stand and not opt into Medicare assignment. It was like at an all-time high, I believe in 2009, 2010, things like that. A lot of doctors went out of business because they were trying to take a stand. Here's the thing. Let's say Medicare Advantage market share grows to 80 to 90%, right? If you're a doctor and you refuse to take it, what happens to you?
You become a millionaire. Tell me. I don't know. Tell me. No, I'm just kidding. You're like,
you're going to
no,
lose your patience,
Glenn.
right?
Oh,
You're going to lose your patience. You're going to go out of business because you won't take the insurance that everybody has, right?
won't have any more patience, so he's in a hurry. Just kidding.
No, I think
what is the number? What is the number today of market share, would you say, between these two? I know this is all public data, it's on CMS.gov,
off of
but ballpark.
memory, I
What
really don't know.
is it?
I think it's probably close right now because you have decades and decades of people being on Med Supp, right?
Right.
But I don't know off the top of my head. I believe if I had to guess, I'd say it's 53% in favor of Medicare Advantage, something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say 55.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is the trend is moving in a certain way. Doctors will get to a point where if you want to stay in business, you play ball. That's where we're going.
For sure.
Right. So like that part doesn't really make me think it's going to slow down Medicare Advantage. Doctors are in a super hyper competitive industry as it is.
Yes.
And there have been doctors that are stubborn with Medicare, and maybe the majority of their patients are Medicare. And they go out of business. It's happened. It's a thing. And this will happen with Medicare Advantage as well. Especially as market share continues to grow. I really do believe that. If we're talking like a 10-year time frame. Now, here's the question with Med Supp, right? Let's say market share shrinks, right? It becomes kind of a niche commodity, like you said. How do the carriers justify continuing to do it? Their margins are low as it is.
Right.
Right? Let's say it becomes a niche commodity. Do half the carriers or more that do it today stop doing it? They're like, there's no money in this for us?
It's possible. I mean, that would probably be the domino effect potentially, right? I mean, the one thing I wanted to mention, I know we're getting towards the top of the hour here, but one of the other things I've been thinking about that I haven't brought up yet is Plan F, right? Plan F is such a great example of the future of Med Supp. What happened to Plan F? It got retired. If you were on it, you're grandfathered in, you can keep it while you have it, but there are no more new beneficiaries getting on Plan F. And why is that? Because it's not cost effective. It's cost prohibitive, actually. Everybody was losing money on Plan F is essentially my understanding, right? The government was losing money. The carriers were losing money. Having this 100% coverage option, which again, as a consumer sounds amazing. I pay my premium and I don't pay anything else, but now as beneficiaries have gotten older, they've gotten sicker. We've gotten more Medicare beneficiaries. Everyone was losing money on it. That's why it had to go away. And ultimately, again, free market capitalism, here in America, I think that's why Medicare Advantage keeps winning, is because of how the math works, the economics work for the government, for the Medicare beneficiary, and for the carrier. It's a better mousetrap. That's what we're seeing. This isn't a it's not pro Medicare Advantage, pro Med Supp. It's just what mathematically is going to work here long term. What's the solution?
Do you know what product I think about that I think has parallels here? Long-term care.
Yeah, that's a great one. Used to be huge.
Now there's very few carriers that even do it. It's such a commodity. Like you look up insurance product commodity in the dictionary, there's long-term care brochure right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
And from my understanding, when it was being offered 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and it was at its all-time height of popularity, I think the carriers underestimated the costs of it and the increasing costs of care, right? And a lot of carriers lost their shorts, in the long-term care business. I just wonder if you'll see that same type of thing, right? Like, there's one agent that I know of that comes to mind when I think about this that is really proficient at long-term care and like he's a big proponent of it? One. I can't think of anyone else.
There was an OG back in the day. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he was like the long-term care guy.
What if that's what happens to Med Supp? I mean, it's a real possibility, guys. I hate to say it. I love Med Supp products.
I was going to say, you seemed genuinely sad when you said that. I felt like there was genuine sadness when you think about the death of Med Supp.
It makes me sad.
What would you do? Would you go have a drink? What would you do?
I probably would have a drink, a very strong drink. If it died, if I attended the funeral, you know, I'm with a lot of you at the funeral. I say some words. I stand up and say some words. Talk about the good times. and then it's to the bar and have a drink.
I want like an AI version of what you did. I want like a bunch of agents at a funeral. It's like, who died? It's like Med Supp.
Medicare Supplement.
Medicare Supplement in that coffin, guys.
You open up the coffin, there's a piece of paper that says F G N A L HDG high deductible G. It's like, what is this?
Headstone says 1965 to 2028. It's like I wrote my first Plan F back in 2014. I used to think this was the only Medicare product I'd ever sell.
It was beautiful. It paid for everything. It paid for everything.
It's like the funeral. Bagpipes? There's bagpipes there too, I think. It's an Irish. It's an Irish wake.
We should do that as a promotional stunt. We should do this. We should at the summit or something.
What if we shelled out like $20,000 for a real funeral? What if we did we get the plot? We get a plot, a headstone, a cast. Guys, comment below if you want to see the funeral Medicare Supplement. Comment below. We will fund it. We will fund it for you guys.
It'd be like Dallas Maverick fans doing. You remember they showed up with a protest with a coffin. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't hear.
Yeah, they
for Luca.
They held a funeral. There's like, I think the coffin was for the franchise.
No,
I think so. I think I heard about this somewhere.
Guys, I've been avoiding NBA talk on the pod because there's only two things Christian's able to talk about in day-to-day life. It's Medicare and NBA. Anything outside of that, he doesn't really know what to say. But if you bring up Medicare or NBA, he will just talk for 30 minutes. So I get a little
awkward, don't know what to say. I'm talking to naked guys in the gym locker room about the weather and how crazy the weather's been. Gets a little uncomfortable for everyone.
Oh my gosh. Someone's already commented, by the way, please throw a funeral. I'll be there. Maybe we actually invite people.
You receive an invitation to the wake and funeral of Medicare
or plan KJ and then and high deductible F.
We'll invite like the strongest Med Supp salesman we know, and they'll have like the bride, the spouse or the wife has like the black veil over over their face at the funeral.
The highest producing Med Supp agents are the pallbearers. They're the ones who have to carry that coffin, baby. Someone's got to lift that thing.
Yeah, it's empty. It's paper in it. Pieces of paper. Here's the thing, guys. We still love Med Supp, right? Like our agency still does millions a year in premium for Med Supp. We love Med Supp. I don't.
Andrew Saw was watching earlier. Andrew,
was he?
Andrew. We love Med Supp.
He might want to get on one of these days and and push for the other side. It's not that I'm trying to push for one side.
Right.
I'm more just talking about what I see, the writing on the wall. I just think it's a matter of when, not a matter of if. I don't think there's any question there's going to be an if. It's going to be when.
That's dark. That's as dark as the funeral, you guys.
Fill the coffins with the enrollment guides.
Someone said.
Yeah. Shout out Nicole.
That would be too heavy. Those things are, one's got a little bit of weight. Imagine filling a coffin.
Can't remember. We all carried those things into houses. Imagine putting them in a coffin, trying to carry them.
I'd like to read the underwriting questions. That's fine.
Can't believe we got here.
Guys. We're at the top of the hour. I do want to get into final thoughts regarding this episode. This was actually very informative, as silly as the place we were at here towards the end. I do think I don't know if I'm able to get through this.
Can we finish the show?
We just end it.
All right, off.
We're at the hour. All right.
Pull it together.
You go for final thoughts.
You want me to go? You want me to go?
Yes, final thoughts. I'll go second. Here.
Guys,
what's the future of Med Supp?
I believe it will be a slow death of 1,000 cuts. And I don't take glean or joy in saying that necessarily. I think it'll be a long, drawn-out thing. But if you're looking 5 to 10 years down the road, the best comparison I can think of when I was thinking about this is long-term care. I really think that's just a spot on where we're headed. It'll exist. There will be 2 or 3 carriers that provide it. It'll be enormously expensive. And someone will watch a YouTube video from 2015, in 2030 and be like, oh, I need me one of those, and they'll pay $600 a month for it at the time or whatever it is. And I don't take joy in saying that. I really don't. Although I wouldn't mind doing the funeral, it'd be something else. But yeah, I think that's where we're going. Doesn't mean you shouldn't offer Med Supp to your clients. Offer both options, proceed as normal, but just understand where we're going. I think is an important, informative position to take.
Guys, these are happy tears, guys. These are happy tears. These aren't sad tears over the death of Medicare Supplement. A lot of times, I think what's interesting about this episode is a lot of times when we the future of Medicare, the future of this, the future of that. A lot of times we are very speculative and we have really no idea. We're like, maybe this will happen or maybe this will happen. Who knows? The interesting part about this episode is I think we really did get to the actual future of Medicare Supplement.
The real answer.
Yeah. I just keep imagining all of us at a funeral, dude.
You remember that scene at the end of Phantom Menace when they're cremating Qui-Gon Jinn?
Qui-Gon Jinn.
There's a robe, and I'm standing there.
It's a Star Wars funeral.
I turn my head to a young agent. Glenn has given me permission to train you. It's going to be all right.
You will bring balance to Medicare.
You will be an agent. I promise.
Okay. So that being said, I do think the writing is very clear on the wall. I mean, we could pull a graph. Again, the data is on CMS.gov. The trend line of Medicare Supplement versus Medicare Advantage, it's going 2 completely different directions. There's very clear reasoning for that. We got into that today. I think that there is still a need for Medicare Supplement right now. I think the near future, there will always be a need for it. I think there's an interesting idea behind, will carriers get to this point where it's such a small part of their business, they essentially just stop doing it? Maybe. That's an interesting idea that I really hadn't thought about. But I do want to mention too here at the end of my final thoughts, Freebie Friday. It's happening every single Friday right here in Seven Figure Medicare Agent. By the way, I was thinking of this morning. What do you think about a hand sign for the group? Are we allowed to do? Is this? Can we?
You mean like a gang
seven?
sign?
Yeah. What do you think about a gang set? We throw sevens up. I was thinking about, we're taking pictures.
Confused gang members walking down the street start
like,
shooting at us. They're like, "You're gonna throw that up here?" We're like, you don't even know what it means.
Boom! Whoa, he's with 7. 7 figure, baby.
With 7.
So if you're in the group, you're in the gang, 7 figure gang. We're doing Freebie Friday every single Friday right here, where you can get entered into a raffle where you can win something that's typically $500 or more. We do multiple winners. All you have to do is comment on one of the streams from this week. We've already done 2. We typically do 4 per week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The 7 Figures or Bust podcast. You can hear it on any platform where you can access podcasts. We are there. We also get the replays put up on YouTube, as well as these streams that exist here in the group. We also stream on multiple other platforms. Christian, what else? What did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. I think you were very thorough.
Perfect. We did it.
Guys, appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end of episode 49. Hope you got some good value out of it. We laughed. We cried. we had a mixture of emotions on this podcast. We will be back with you guys with another episode. Wishing you guys nothing but massive success in your businesses.
Yes.
We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.